how did you get into DJing and producing?
Well, I've been DJing since 1979. Uh, my first gig was actually my birthday party. And I had gotten some, home turntables with a realistic mixer, but the first realistic mixer, but without the crossfader.
Yeah.
This was this was just like the main one, like the first one that they had. And then, I was just playing tunes, not really mixing. So you couldn't really do it. Eventually, as I started doing it more and more and more, I started doing a lot of garage parties in San Francisco, especially in the Mission, which partying in the Mission was a big deal back then. You know, and got some more money with my crew, and then we ended up getting better turntables until we ended up with the 1200s, and we pretty much stuck with that one for a long time, bro. Then producing, there was a major producer which was part of the disco era who was doing I don't know what kind of song it really was, but he was using a vocoder, so I really liked the robot voice vibe, so he asked me to scratch on it, and he took me into the Columbia Record Studios in San Francisco, in which was run by a guy called Paul Stubblebine, who also mastered. And the producer actually wanted me to scratch certain voices, but I said I need a record for that. So what they did is, since Paul Stubblebine went ahead and did the lacquers, he actually cut a lacquer of that, and I scratched off the lacquer. And then that was my first time in the studio. The studio was amazing. I never seen so many faders or knobs ever. I was 15 years old, man. And when I saw it, I was like, yeah, man. I was hooked for life, man, after that. That was the first time I ever saw a sampler, too. It was a French sampler called the Publicin, which back in the day, that was like the most expensive sampler. It was over $100,000, man. But it did do time stretching, and this is back in like in 1980, man. So a lot of that technology kind of grew as we went along and through the years, But that's pretty much what that was. My first record was at 15, you know,
Wow.
uh, coming off like that. I got hooked on all of that, man, and started getting equipment and all of that, and with my brother, DJ Mind Motion, in which he got his name Mind Motion because before getting into the DJing thing, uh, we used to perform a Fisherman's Wharf, popping and locking and strutting, man, and used to get paid from that. So we were the Mind Motion crew dancing, uh, but when I started to DJ, uh, I was before the I went into the studio. I was just DJ Raul. But when I went into the studio, my first studio, the engineer, he asked me what is it that I wanted and all of that, and I didn't know what a snare drum or an echo or a reverb was. So I would just sing it to him. I need a pa, or I need a pa 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 pa, and I would do it so well that he said, "Man, you're an effect box." So I changed my name to DJ EFX, bro.
Whoa, there it is right there. That's the origin of the name right there.
Yeah, that was back from 1980, brother. Well, with my brother, he was DJ ECE because his name is Eric, and everybody was getting into him. He was starting to DJ with me, and he was really really good. But then NWA drops, and then there's ECE, So my brother said, "No, man, I'm not gonna compete with that." So, we had stopped the dancing thing at Fisherman's Wharf because the the city started to ask for permits and all of that, and they used to come and take our money, man, and it was like it wasn't happening. So we stopped that. But then, we talked about. I said, why don't you just call yourself My Motion? And that's what he did. So he became My Motion Master Mix. That was the name of our mobile DJ thing. And then he was DJ My Motion, man, and I was DJ EFX, man.
It's really epic that both you guys have been so prolific. Him in the hip hop and you in the house. People, I don't know if everybody knows this, but in the Bay Area, if you're from the Bay Area, you heard that name, DJ Mind Motion.
Oh, of course, man. But see, I started out really. I mean, we used to battle other DJ crews. Many like many of them. And that was pretty much what our world was, the underground, the true underground, in which we just played and did mega mixes live. Like put a drum machine and play over it right away. And or do fast mixing and all that. Cameron Paul did a lot of that, but he did it with tape editing. Uh, we didn't have any reel to reels or anything, and we didn't have the skills at the time to do tape editing. So we flipped the funk. We just said, "Well, hold on a minute, let's just do it live." So we did, and other crews started doing it. So we were able to have really fun um, DJ battles. We would bring our sound system, they will bring their sound system, and then we would just throw it down. And that was fun, man. But after, I actually started in the hip hop world. I was producing hip hop tracks. My first real club in which I DJ'd at was at the Night Break on the Upper Haight, in which was next to a bowling alley, which is now Amoeba Records. Right next to it is where this place was, and I started out by myself, and uh, 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 Jurgen was the owner, a Swedish guy, really cool, but he wanted to start something with hip hop, but it was pretty much a rock venue, in which a lot of up and coming rock acts, at the time, um, Primus, which became big,
Wow,
they started there. Lars Ehrlich used to show up there just to get drunk a lot of times.
that's probably
uh,
Murio's trophy room now, huh?
I don't even know what it is. I haven't been around there for a while, man. But that was the place, So I started to DJ and DJ and started to get people. And then I told my brother, "Why don't you come and DJ with me?" And so we were both doing it for quite a bit. Um, and for quite a while, as a matter of fact, and started to grow. Then the Kennel Club, Jurgen opened up the Kennel Club, and then that became something else. But I ended up going more. I was always more like into the club scene. Also, I loved Studio West at the time, Studio 47 down in San Ho, and and so I had an opportunity to get into the clubs, into the bigger clubs. So I told my brother, "Man, why don't you just keep Night Break, man? I'm gonna go ahead and do this other thing." So once I went into do the not just house, but it was at the time it wasn't really house. It was more like post disco new wave. It's like electronic stuff. Um, and I enjoyed it because I'm a Miami-based guy, an electro guy anyway. So I said, man, the transition was nice. Then I had a chance. I got asked to come to Townsend, and at Townsend, I went ahead and I actually had to kind of play against other DJs, and one of them being Cameron Paul, in which he was a KML at the time. And on a Friday, they brought him in, and they had me, and we actually went, head to head to, and they chose me, man. You know,
Wow.
and I ended up getting the residency there, and then I played 3 nights, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, and I was there for quite a while, man. I started making, the mega mixes. Did them with my brother. That's why it says DJ EFX and the My Motion crew, which was the crew. The My Motion crew was just my brother. You know what I'm
So,
saying?
so
And
before
and
before Wicked ever, sorry to cut you off, before Wicked ever blew up Townsend, you already blew it up.
I was already at Townsend when Wicked blew up, man.
Yeah.
I was at Townsend when Townsend wasn't popular, man. It had just pretty much opened. and I stayed there for quite a while, man. Pretty much until I moved to Europe, you know. But I was doing not only mega mixes, but I had some acid house records, you know, that I was putting out on my own. I was doing my sound, you know, not really trying to copy anybody. I went to Chicago a lot. I got together with Martin Boogeyman. I met him at a new music seminar in New York, and we became good friends. And he told me, "Why don't you come to Chi Town?" He goes. I said, "All right." So I go to Chi Town, and they introduced me to DJ International. I met all the big stars from DJ International, Rocky Jones, and Jump. You know, everyone there, brother. But my main thing is that I wanted to still do my own sound, you know, no matter whether they liked it or not, you know. So, yeah, I started looking for distributors, and I found Barney Distribution, which was one of the biggest ones in Chicago, and you know, kind of like met everyone there, and I saw how they did their thing, and I started making my songs. You know, I mean, I had my own songs. I pressed them and all of that, man. um, then all of a sudden, I had a demo tape, which with other tunes, and I went into Ralph Tashian's radio promotion in the Mission, which he had. It was on top of Cy Tashian's Florist, I think on 22nd and Mission. I'm not really sure, but I think that's where it was. And that's where I met Jeremy, which is DJ Digit. He became DJ Digit. But he listened to my tape. I said, "Well, hold on a minute, man. I'm gonna send it around," you know. So all of a sudden, you know, other people started listening to it, and I get a phone call from Walter Selznick from City Hall Distribution in San Rafael, and he offered, you know, he offered to put out my records. So you know, that's how I started the label Infusion, in which Los Kings del Mambo came out, Evil Diva, you know, a whole bunch of other uh, records that I did. I actually did an album and all of that, and a lot of those songs from that album got licensed. So I was doing really good, you know, and with my sound, mind you, it wasn't anybody else's sound, you know, just my sound. And you know, I started passing records around at the raves and other DJs, and they were playing them. The one that the DJ that actually broke Los Kings del Mambo was Ernie Munson, DJ Ernie Munson. He actually broke that record in L.A. He went to play in L.A. He said, "Dude, I played that record from the beginning, and all of a sudden everybody went nuts. So I played it like 3 times in one night." He went, "Damn!" I went like that. So you know, he's pretty much responsible for breaking that record in a wide way. You know, I was playing a lot of my music when I DJ'd, so you know, I was promoting as much as I could. I got a chance to be on the radio at KSOL. I had a show called. They had a mix show called the Earthquake, and I went after, so I called it the Aftershock. Started with Doug Lee, and then Chewy Gomez came and he became my announcer, and then you know did my thing there, and while I was in KSOL doing my mix show, I get a phone call from DJ Pierre, man, from Chicago, man. And then he goes, "Oh man, your sound is unique, man. You know the way he speaks. You know, your man is unique, man. It's cool, man. Um, it just needs a bigger foot." He went, "What's a bigger foot, man?" You know, he said he wanted me to pound my kick. You know,
Yeah.
but again, that's their sound. My sound was different. You know. So I made adjustments, you know, to some of my tracks, but then he said, "No, man, why don't you just make me something original, man? And I'll put you out on Strictly Rhythm." I said, "What, Strictly Rhythm?" He said, "Yeah, yeah, man, I'm the A&R director for Strictly Rhythm right now." He went, "No shit," I went. So um, I got together with Digit, and we did Politics of Dancing on Strictly Rhythm. That was my very first release, you know, with swirls. That became a rave, underground rave anthem in a way, because it was really beautiful. You know, it wasn't prime time, but it was more like, you know, like a 4 o'clock in the morning tune, but it wasn't a house song like that. It was something different. And from there, everything else went on. Mark Finkelstein, the owner of Strictly Rhythm, after so many years of doing tracks with them, he said, "Look, man, you do not have the Strictly Rhythm sound, but you sell." He went like that. "You sell a lot in Europe." He went like that. You open markets for us in different parts of the world." He went and says, "Well, I'm going to give you your own label." He went. So he gave me Freshly Squeezed Records, and then that's what we started doing our own sound more and more and more and more.
I
You
had
know,
no
uh,
idea that was your label.
yeah, brother. I put it. I mean, through the whole deal, being a DJ, at a major club and all of that, gather enough money, and Digit, being there also, we went ahead and opened up Third Floor Productions, which was 1177 um, uh, Polk Street,
Okay.
and it was at the third floor of a building. BPM Records was underneath us, so we weren't really organized, man. We just had this old radio station, man, that it was an AM radio station apparently, and we just went in, man, and we just everything was almost pre-built. It had sound booths, but it looked terrible. Everything was run down, but we didn't fix it. We just left it like that. I said, "Hey, keep it underground, man." So, prior to Third Floor Productions, I had my own studio with another producer, but he was doing more like new wave stuff and rock. Mark Five, Mark Myers is his name. He ended up being a fat engineer for Bone Thugs and Harmony and Coolio and a whole bunch of others. He engineered a lot of Grammy hits, man.
Whoa.
That's post Secret Studios, but my first studio that I put together with Mark was on Bayshore, right off Bayshore in Cortland, in San Francisco, and it was called Secret Studios, and it was in a warehouse district. You kind of had to know how to get there to get there. If you didn't, it wasn't. It was just really hard to get to if you didn't know.
You
And
started Secret Studios?
me and Mark started Secret Studios. Yes,
Holy
the
what?
recording.
Oh my god, it's still there, of course.
Yeah, but no, Secret Studios actually moved to Army Street and became just rehearsal studios.
Yeah, yeah, that's the place.
Yeah, but that's a
That's
different thing
not the same
altogether.
location, okay.
No, no, that was with Greg. Greg owned the building, and he had the rehearsal studios. But then we had the recording studio, in which was ours. I brought in my equipment and started. I produced a lot of hip hop there, man. A lot of hip hop, man. The uh, Ill Manor Posse with Kugna, and Banks, who ended up getting signed to Jive Records, uh, many acts, man, many different, Huey MC from the Fillmore, many, the Legion of Doom, that was some other ones, they all came through my thing, and I was doing a lot of hip hop, but I was doing house music too, you know one of my first releases before Strictly Rhythm was with Emotive Records from New York, and I did a song in which I played the trumpet on, and it just it got signed, and that's when Pierre was saying that he wanted me to be more like they do, but I wasn't going to do it. I just did my thing, and my kicks started to develop little by little, but my thing with the kick drums is that it has to complement the entire song. It can't just be a kick oriented track, in which it's just pounding and it doesn't matter what you put on top. I always been like that. I mean, you could put my songs against anybody else's songs, and their kicks sound way fatter than mine. But my tunes still were being played regardless. So That's what mattered to me, man. And a lot of I've been blessed that a lot of people have liked my songs and still do today, because they came from the underground. They weren't meant to be commercial anything. Those songs were meant to be for DJs, and especially for me to play. That's pretty much why I started making songs. And records. It's just for me to play my own records, man. To have that, like every DJ got their secret weapon, and usually they always put another label on top so nobody knows what it is.
Yeah.
Well, in my and that was cool too. But in my case, my secret weapons were my own tunes, man. So people go, "Hey man, what song is that?" And I would go, "Well, that's one of my songs, man." So I got popular by saying that a lot. Then I started getting into the big raves, started making my rave tunes, and because that was my culture. That's my culture, the underground. Um, and that's where Jesse Martinez, we did I mean, I was doing the Woo People in San Leandro, which lasted 3 days, man. And that was with Noah Massey. He told me, "Come and play with me, man." And so I went and stayed there for 3 days, man. I met Jesse Martinez there. He went by Jamar, and he was doing his thing. He was a pool director here in San Jose at the time, but I was living in San Francisco. We became friends, and it, we've been seeing each other throughout, the decades, man. The same thing with Arturo Garces. Arturo is a big force right now, but I met Arturo way back in the day, man. He was a great DJ, man, at the time, and he wasn't really making too many records at the time, but he was starting to. So that was kind of dope, underground vibe. He actually took me. Arturo took me to a website called livedjs.com, and I used to go, and I used to just go there and show up at 3 in the morning and start playing, man, because no, everybody was either asleep or not really doing anything. I said, "Well, let me play," and the owner of the website would let me. I said, "Well, let's go then." So I 3 in the morning I was playing for the kids in Europe because it's 8 hours later. So I used to get a lot of emails at the time, from them, and pretty much playing my own tunes as well, but also playing other underground songs. So that's how. And then we took Third Floor Productions. We took it to Europe. We ended up in London. We were living in NW2, which became also the name of a project for Strictly Rhythm. But NW2 is the postal code in London, which is Cricklewood. And we took Third Floor Productions there. I brought Raw Soul with me, which I met him in Third Floor Productions. We had Sean Benson, which he was a high energy artist, which ended up doing a lot of great house songs after that. LC Love also showed up, and out of nowhere, man, when we were in London, here comes DJ Buck, man. That was great, man. Seeing Buck, because Buck was from the rave days as well. So he shows up and he stayed in London with us for quite a bit. And we were DJing all over Europe. So we stayed there for quite a while, man, and the rest is history, man.
After that, you moved to Rotterdam.
Well, no, what happens is then after I left Third Floor Productions, so I just actually left, man, and I ended up going to Amsterdam. I used to play when I was in England. I used to go. I had a residency at a club in Amsterdam. This in 90, 94, 95, at a club called the Roxy in in Amsterdam with DJ Dimitri. Uh, he's definitely one of the best DJs I have ever heard, man. And with a very eclectic following, all kinds of people will follow him. So I went there. I was going back and forth every week from London to Amsterdam every week. Uh, it was cheap back then. It was like it wasn't expensive to take a shuttle, a plane shuttle from London to Amsterdam. It wasn't very expensive. So we were going back and forth, you know. At least I was. I would throw my own parties. We did a San Francisco night and at the Roxy also. It was pretty big. Um, and then after I left their floor, I ended up just being in Amsterdam. You know, I stayed in Amsterdam for quite a while. Um, then I decided to move to Rotterdam. And Rotterdam, you know, Amsterdam is more or less like an adult Disneyland. You know, so it's a different vibe altogether. It has a beautiful energy, beautiful people. But when I went to Rotterdam, it was more or less like a real city. You know, it's like real things, you know. So I enjoy being there. By the way, just so you know, at the time, Rotterdam was the number two largest port in the world, man. 15 miles long was the port, man. So, you know, a lot of businesses there, a lot of millionaires there, man. So, I was living there for quite a while too, man. Then from there, I went into I left Rotterdam, but I stayed in the suburbs and the little villages around there. Many different villages, met a lot of people and started producing in those areas as well, man. So, you know, that's how I ended up in Rotterdam. Then I ended up going to Germany a lot, you know, DJing a lot. You know, I went into Hamburg, Munich, Berlin. I played at Ewerk or Ework, big clubs over there. Played the Park Cafe in Munich many times. But then with the agency that was booking me as a DJ, they took me to little villages all over Germany, you know, Essen, Trier, and other little ones, you know, and those were the fat parties because those were the true underground parties. Those were the ones that, you know, you would go into a bunker, underground bunker, you know, from World War II and throw a party there, and you just didn't know what day it was, man. You know, it's like you could spend a week there and not really know it, you know, and that's the kind of vibe that you know, bringing my underground sound. And the Germans really enjoyed my sound, man, a lot. The French also did the same. I ended up in Bulgaria playing in Sofia. Ended up in Romania, Estonia, the Ukraine before. You know, this is back in the day. You know, the wall had come down already, so all these people were like going through a lot of suffrage, but they still wanted to party, man. So there was a lot of squatter parties that I did in those areas that were amazing, man. Like amazing. They're like they will never leave me, you know. They weren't the major clubs, you know. In London, I did play at the Ministry of Sound. In Manchester, I did play La Hacienda, and although La Hacienda was great, man, and but they had a little room down there called the Fifth Room. That was my favorite one, man. Inside the Hacienda, another club inside called the Fifth Room. It was great, man. That's where the real party went on. Another underground vibe. I met a couple of other promoters and DJs called the Love Dub Brothers. They also did remixes. They had their own thing in Manchester called Home at a place called the Doocy House, and that's where I met the people from Simply Red, which their studio was like 2 blocks from there. I met some of the members from Happy Mondays as well, in which they were doing their rock thing, but they were just starting to merge the underground house thing into their thing to create other things, you know. So, you know, played in Scotland and Wales, Plymouth. I mean, all over England, all over Europe, man. I could just keep going on and on with that, brother. But you know, it's not about that, man. It's that I never did what I did to become famous. It's just that's how I ended up being because I just went and did it. You know, it didn't matter whether I got paid a lot or not. You know, because I did get paid a lot in some places, but in some other ones I didn't. I still went, and the crowds really appreciated that. You know, they appreciated that somebody came to be with them and to know them, and they enjoyed my music even more. Although they already knew my music, but they enjoyed it more. And you know that's what I enjoy the most about that time. You know, uh, And I went to Latin America and played. I played in Argentina, man. I played in Colombia. I played in El Salvador. Played in Mexico a lot. Costa Rica, I played, but it really wasn't playing. I went there to relax, and I ended up playing. So it was another story. But that's my adventures in traveling, man. Traveling all over the world like that, bro. And that just came from the underground, man. The underground is where all the commercial acts come to get ideas and inspirations for their pop songs.
Still.
Uh, it's still it's like that. It's like sometimes they hear a hi hat, they go, but that hi hat is wrong. It's too sharp, you know. But then all of a sudden, a couple of years later, you hear the same hi hat on their songs,
Ha. Yep.
and then all of a sudden they hear a bass line, like, ooh, that's a lovely bass line. And then a few years later, that bass line appears on some other people's pop songs, in the underground, I met a lot of big artists as well that used to show up in the undercover. I met Ron Tressler from the Nine Inch Nails, Martin Gore, from Depeche Mode. And I could keep going, man. A lot of them, man. That they were just coming to our underground vibes to kind of get inspired, and that's what the underground is. That's what the underground lives very strong, but it's in different places now, different vibes, different parties, different places that people don't really know, and it's not really advertised. If you know, you know. If you don't, well, you don't. But new sounds are still appearing. The problem that today with those new sounds, uh, they're being turned into sound packs or construction sets in which a lot of people just they're not being producers or songwriters anymore. They're more or less are being assemblers. If I pay $25 for a sound pack or a construction set, I could just put it together and say it's my song. Uh, they're not really providing the future for inspiration. They're just grabbing from us back in the '90s and early, well, pretty much the '90s, man. 90 from 90 to 2000, a lot of innovation was done. A lot of innovation with equipment. Our computers were slow and didn't have that much memory, so we relied a lot on external gear. It's not until the digital revolution in which everything had larger hard drives and faster processors in which you didn't need all that gear, but you needed the sounds, and that's where the sound packs became really popular.
Yeah, but then like if you don't use your brain to never learn any music, then you're not exercising that part of the brain, and then you're gonna be a weak producer if you just use sound packs.
Well, it's not that it being weak. I mean, sound packs are helpful to get inspired, but not to just use it as your main source. I mean, back in the day, I mean, I had my 909, 808s, I had my SP 1200s, I had my samplers, which was the Emax, uh, and Emax 2. But then for I used to use a Mac. I used to use a Performer in the '80s, man, version one, man,
It's
with
your
a Mac.
fault. It's you're the guy. You're the one. People don't know that. People, you go and you ask San Francisco house music producers, any OG San Francisco house music, what is the DAW you use? They always say, "Oh, I use Digital Performer Mo 2." This is the reason.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is that I started with Performer, which was in digital on a Mac SC, which was pretty much like the Mac Plus, only with the SC had a 20 megabyte hard drive. Mind you, I say again, 20 megabyte hard drive. That was a big deal, man.
Wow.
That was like, wow, we got 20 megabytes, man. And we were able to store the songs in there, not on floppy disk anymore. But it was just sequencing. Then when the digital Performer Vive came out, you had to upgrade into a bigger desktop. I ended up getting a Mac CX, in which I upgraded to Mac CI, and then using the PCI slots, I used well, this one had a new bus slots for the CX. It was new bus. The CI had the actual native CI had PCI, but I had a sample cell. It was a card that you put in, and sample cell was still, to me, even today, was by far the best sampler I ever used, man. You know, uh, we used audio media as your audio card for it, and the software was amazing, man. You were able to really do some intense sound designing. It wasn't just to sample and put it in samples, but you could actually manipulate in a way that is very hard even today with whatever exists today. It doesn't have the same innovation that that particular card had, and I really enjoyed working with that a lot, man. Motu was great, man. Even that's with the Mac vibe. The thing is that when I went to Europe, nobody actually owned Macs. Everybody owned PCs, or Ataris. Atari was a big deal, using Cubase or Creator. That's pretty much what everybody would use. Uh, I never really liked it myself, but I did like Cubase. The program was great, man, in the Atari. Other people who had Macs just decided to use Cubase. People who had PCs, which pretty much was at the time was 98% of the producers in Europe used PCs, but because they were cheaper, and upgradable with not that much of a cost. A Mac will cost as much as a car in Europe at the time, So um, I started, going into the PC side of things, and I discovered a lot of things that I liked about the PC. So I started dedicating myself to get into the PC vibe, and I actually use a PC now. I don't use a Mac anymore.
I need to do that. That's what's up.
Because just it's just a different vibe. Mac sound better, but the PC you could actually manipulate sound much better, man. It has different different multiple processes for different things, So I really enjoyed it a lot, and that's how that went,
And you
Uh,
haven't stopped producing.
no, man, I haven't. I disappeared for quite some time, man, for personal reasons, let's say. I didn't have many things, but one thing that I did discover was cyber cafes everywhere I went when I was going through some personal issues. I discovered cyber cafes, and at the time they were like 50 cents an hour, and they were pretty much used just for chatting and sending emails or playing games, and people would play that 50 cents an hour. So at the time, I didn't have any equipment, I didn't have much money, I didn't have pretty much hardly anything because of my personal issues. But I ended up going to a lot of these cyber cafes and paying like $5, man. And I would be there like for 10 hours half the time,
Bang out an
it,
EP.
well, what I did is that one of the guys that I met in Europe, he went by the name of Lex Lufa. He used to do records for Warp Records in England, and we became good friends. He went under Solitaire G, also. You could look him up, Solitaire G on Warp. He did amazing things, man. This guy was in another level, and he was using Atari also, uh, but he did it really well, man. And we became friends. I actually ended up living with him for a minute, up in Huddersfield in England. He lived in a place called Fartown, and we had a great time, man, together there, man. We came out with some really innovative stuff. But after a few years, we lost touch. Then all of a sudden, he contacts me through email and tells me he's starting a new label. At the time it was called Red Robot Records, and he's kind of like a redhead type dude. So I said, okay, man, I'm gonna make you some tunes. At the time I was using Reason, you know. Uh, I think it was Reason 3 at the time. And then I went up to recent 5 after a while, and I made a couple of projects for him that actually made some noise for him, but it really wasn't my sound, but it is the sound that came out of me that day. So I said, hey, what are we gonna do? Let's just go with it. And he loved it. He sold Red Robot Records, and then I didn't hear from him for about a year. Then he resurfaces again at a website called clubdjs.com. Club Vibes, I'm sorry, clubvibes.com. And he asked me if I wanted to have a mix show there. I said, yeah, man, I'll go ahead and hook it up, man. Then he created his own labels. He had FET Records, he had LB Records, and at that time is when I was. That's when my whole life started to change. Downwards, bro. But I never gave up, man. And I would go to the cyber cafes and make like EPs for the guy. You know, and I never told him what was going on with me at the time, but I would do everything in the cyber cafe. If I want, I would bring a conga that I would borrow, and I would just put the headphones that come with a microphone that you use for chatting.
Yeah.
What I used to wrap that around the conga and play, man. you know,
Wow.
and then if I wanted a sample, I would just say it. Didn't matter what it was. I just said it. But since I had experience with engineering and also how to work with programs and all of that, I made that cyber cafe sound like it was a big studio, man. You know, and I would just email him the songs, and he would start to put them out. So that was during I think between 2000 and 2010 to 2015. It was like that, and that's how I made my songs. I had no equipment, man.
Wow,
So
man.
then I came back to the United States. I was gone for 22 years, man. I came back to the United States in 2016, and then I ended up being with Jesse. Jesse Martinez really really helped me out to get back into my flow. He and then Arturo came about too. Arturo Garces, and he started lifting me up too. Uh, they were both very very important in my recovery after my personal issues. And I'm incredibly thankful to them, man. Incredibly, because they're just, they they knew who I was. They knew they I'm a what I people say that I'm a legend. I call myself a so-called legend because I haven't given you my best yet. I have given you some fat tunes, but not truly my best, and I'm still working on it. Call me a legend maybe in 10 years, you know.
That's what's up.
But uh, I kept going and going, and as from 2016 to now, I've been acquiring certain equipment. There were some people that apparently, and I don't remember this, I gave away some of my equipment to some people in some of my records, and they all showed up out of nowhere, started giving it back to me and say, "You need this now, man. We kept it. We here." So I started gathering some of my old gear, and then I mean, I got my SP 1200 back, man, and I have it here. Thank God for that. But
What? Oh shit.
I still got my Massenburg compressor, external vibe. That's what I use for vocals or mastering, and the 303 that I had, I got it back, but then it got stolen, so I didn't really trip anymore. But I had MIDI'd it. I had a MIDI kit to it, so you could actually don't have to use the sync. You could actually play the notes if you wanted it, you know. Uh, and my 808 also, I had MIDI'd it. Put a MIDI card in it so you could actually play it from the keyboard as well. But little by little, I've been gathering my equipment back. I put out some tunes since I've been back. Some of them actually went pretty big. Some of them haven't made that much noise. But then again, uh, people kept telling me that every time they would hear one of my songs, 5 years later, everybody was digging them. So don't worry about it, they said. I'll say, okay. Whatever that means, man. Um,
When I went to make the reel on Instagram and I type in DJ EFX for the music, there's a lot of tracks on there.
well, yeah, man. I mean, you know, during my underground experience when I was creative 24/7, I'm not gonna lie, I smoked a lot of weed, bro. And a lot of the reasons I smoked a lot of weed is because I never really had to pay for it. A lot of people would just come and give me a lot of weed. So I was high a lot of that time. I was so high, man, that I wasn't aware of what I was making. So what came out of me was like pure, unadulterated, no barrier. It was just definitely what was inside of me. I would press a key, press a chord, not really knowing what I'm doing, bro. It was just happening. It was just happening. And those were the songs that really changed the world, man. For me, at least, my world, in which later on in life, uh, uh, after that, I went into Discogs, and I started seeing all my releases because I also use different names. And I know the names I use, but I started looking at all my releases, which I got like 25, I think 25 to 50 pages of my vinyl, bro. And I'm looking at them and I go, damn, I don't remember doing this. I don't remember doing this. Damn, I don't remember doing this for reals, man. you know. But then I zoom in into the labels, of the picture they got of the vinyl, and I see my name there. I said, well, I guess I did it. I went. Don't ask me how I did it. I go because I don't remember. So I was pretty much high for 22 years, man, nonstop, every day, 7 days a week, pretty much. I would get up and pee at whatever time, take a hit, and go back to sleep if I needed to.
Not anymore.
No, man. Because of a lot of things, I I actually stopped doing all drugs, man, in 2005, man. Uh, I do drink. I like my drinking. That's something that never left me. I like rum. I like Sapporo beer is my favorite to write with. Modelo is pretty much just to hang out. But Sapporo is what I write all the cool stuff with now. But all the drugs have stopped, and from 2005, I've been pretty much drug free since then, man. I've been around a lot of people who smoke and do drugs, and they're all pretty much around me, and they always ask me if I want some, and I said, no, man, it's not necessary. I don't need it anymore.
All right, well, I'm lucky. I'm really lucky that I got to smoke weed with you.
Yeah, yeah, we got, it's just, and my thing is that I used to get pillows, not little, but little bags. I used to get like pillows of weed, man, a week, and all my crew always had weed. Or everybody would just come, hey, dude, you got some bud, man? So, yeah, man, go, 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 go. And in England, we had the same thing too. I show up, and then all of a sudden, all these people where we show up to Third Floor Productions in London, man, in which was we had the studios in the third floor of a building too. It was great, man.
That's what's up.
So and then we all anybody need an inspiration, they go to Raul's room. they, I had a big dish full of weed, man. People just come and grab and go. And the thing about me, although I did do a lot of drugs, not just weed, I never really was into uh the drugs that get you up. I needed, because I'm a hyper person anyway, really hyper. So I needed drugs to kind of bring me down. You know what I'm saying? So I could be even.
Yeah,
But that's why weed was an important part of my thing. And I did a lot of great songs with a lot of great people. Did a lot of remixes also. The remix vibe came because of my underground sound. See, that was the craziest thing, because when I started to do the remixes for the major labels, in which I did major artists, the sound at the time was Masters at Work, Terry, Sneak, David Morales. That was the new remixing was pretty much a New York thing. You know, but because of my underground sound, in which I didn't change, I wasn't changing to do their sound. I didn't want to be like them because that didn't come out of me. I enjoy their music. Every time I would go to the club and I would hear a Masters of Work tune or Todd Terry, I got a chance to hang out with him when before he became the big star. He was with Sleeping Bag Records. Sleeping Bag is known for hip hop and also freestyle. But he did something for Sleeping Bag, which was a remix of Weekend by that everybody plays still today. I can't take the heartbreak of you leaving me again. Well, this guy did this remix for Sleeping Bag, and that thing went off, man. And I got a chance to meet him then. And then through the years, when I was DJing all over, somehow he was there. So we were like having a great time together, man. Um, but I love everybody's sound, like the Chicago, you had Maurice Joshua, you had uh, Georgie Porgy's sound was great. The Out Here brothers, although they were like hella crazy dudes vocally, but musically they were geniuses, Pierre, obviously, I always played a lot of the Pierre stuff, and I always enjoyed listening to their music, but I didn't create like them. I created like me, I created my own sound. And that's when the major labels and started coming for remixes. That's where Nervous Records, Strictly Rhythm, Underground Construction from Chicago, and other record labels were asking for records from me because of my sound. George Morel started his own label called Groove On, in which I was their first artist. Underground Construction, I was the first artist for that label too. Um, and that all came from San Francisco. A lot of people say that I was the first one in the West Coast to do a house record. That's not entirely true. Marcus Wyatt from down in LA was actually the first West Coast strictly rhythm artist, you know, but he didn't pursue it anymore. Now, let's just say that I was the second West Coast artist, but the very first one in the Bay Area. That is true, because before Strictly Rhythm, I had done records for Emotive, and then with Infusion, which was my label, I was putting those records out and getting licensed, so they went all over the world. So, that's me, but all based around my sound. And my sound is what got me to remix Boy George, Sting for the movie Demolition Man, Janet Jackson. I could keep going, man.
Please do, please do.
I mean, Rosala, Crystal Waters. A lot of people still talk about 100% Pure Love, the mix that I did, especially in Chicago. They really loved it over there. In Europe, I started getting remixes from ZYX, started getting remixes from Arcade Records in Amsterdam, and also Arcade Records in Belgium. I started getting a lot of remixes from New York, definitely. I did the Deep Forest, which was a tribal thing that everybody went nuts over too. I did the last song. I remixed the last song for Dan Hartman, "The Love in Your Eyes," in which I did one side of the remix, and then Frankie Knuckles did the flip side of that. And I did Barbara Tucker also. I mean, there's so many. I'm still trying to remember them. But that was all based around my sound. And why do I say that, man? Why is it? Is that that's what we need to go back to? People doing their own sound. Just because drum loops are available or sounds are available, that doesn't mean you have to sound like them. uh the key to sampling back in the 80s and 90s was what we used to call flipping the sample, flipping the funk. You will get a sample, but then you will flip it, make it sound like something else. And in that process, through filtering or resynthesizing or reharmonizing or doing whatever the hell you do, even just EQing it different, um, it created something new. And everybody in the early 90s and in the late 80s, everybody was sampling it. And but you couldn't tell it was a sample, because of how you flipped it. Uh, that's just how it is. Um, and that's what we did. That's what we all did. That's why you could play anybody's underground song from the '90s, and it will sound better than what's going on today. You know, uh, that's just how it is. We really were our own individuals, and we shined. And when I say we, I'm talking of millions of producers back then, millions, in which they did their own thing. Each neighborhood, each area, each block, each house had their own sound. And you could tell that when you used to go to BPM Records, or you used to go to any other record shops, that sold house music or underground music. You could spend a whole day there, man, and choose at least 50 records that you want to buy, but you can't, because because they're all unique. So you would have to kind of like compromise based on your budget how many of those records you would take, and that was every week, man. Every week, whatever records you bought last week, you came next week, and there was another big batch of new sounds. You know, you have Hypnosis by O2. Like that was it was just a simple drum break. With the tan 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 tan, in which that was a Casio ZZ 101 organ that somebody sampled and tweaked. No different than Liddell Consell, did with "All I Wanna Do Is to Get with You." And that organ that they use is the same organ they use in Wiggle It, also.
Hmm.
But that's also the Casio ZZ 101 sampled, in which they went ahead and tweaked it in the Akai sampler or your Emu sampler or whatever sampler you use. Everybody had their own sound. But although we knew what it was as producers, but as a DJ, you couldn't really tell. You just love how it felt. You had a Coco Still in Love Bomb. They went ahead and started going in the Kraftwerk way. With Feel It, but they did it in a way in which was innovative. It wasn't really a copycat thing. And that's back in the day. And I could keep going with more records, man. The kid just kept coming out, white labels, and
Can you
records.
can you name some of your recent productions?
Well, one that is coming out hopefully next month is the remix I did for you. For "Love Always Wins." I love Elise's vocals, and I hope that you like the music and arrangements that I did.
Hell yeah.
Uh, but I've done some other ones. I work with a label called Wolf Scream down in Dallas. I work with Selecta Records for up in Washington for Dennis. I've done a lot of other records, um, but uh, Amazonia is one of them that was big. I've done remixes for a kid down from Dallas called Soundwave 214, in which he also goes under Castaneda, in which some of those remixes are kind of like close to me because I remember how I did them. You know what I'm saying? I actually enjoy the process of making those songs, and the songs I did with Dennis Selecta. I did a few EPs for them as well, and some remixes as well, not just house but also experimental. And Dennis allowed me to be me. He never really told me I need a sound like this. I needed to. I don't need to market it here. Just do your thing, man. He was also very important because he was one of those guys that when I first showed up back, uh, he contacted me. I don't know how he knew I was here, and he actually sent me a laptop, man, and he sent me an interface, and he said, "Man, go ahead and start writing right now." He said. I said, "Right on, bro." This is back in 2016, so he's one of them also that you know has been there for me, man, and he's really, really he has a different ear. He's not into what others are doing also.
He just wants to. He gets people's product based on the originality of it. Even down to the mix downs and the mastering, man. It's like not not everything has to sound the same. It's individuality is what keeps the flow going. It creates beautiful things with this sound pack thing, with this construction set thing. What what that causes is musical incest, and musical incest creates really not really good things, strange things, yes, but it doesn't create good things. So I don't promote that at all. I promote people being individuals and doing their thing, as I have done my thing always, man. I never copied anybody's thing. I've been sampled a lot. That I do know. I heard a lot of my productions in a lot of people's records, man. Even up to today, you know, I still hear people sampling licks and drums and things that I would do. When I couldn't sample anymore, I would, just create. I would program a beat, right? And then I would go ahead and render it. Then I would go ahead and put it back into the song and EQ it like a loop. But it's still me. I programmed it, but it sounds like a loop. So if you hear a loop from me, it's not really a loop, it's me. You know what I'm saying? So I program. So that's what we need. We need that innovation to keep moving forward, man. I mean, we did a lot of drugs back in the 80s and 90s, man, so the future could have new sounds. No, really, I'm not lying
That's
to
what's
you, man.
up.
I mean, we really went over the top. We pushed the limits of ecstasy. We pushed the limits of weed. We pushed the limits of whatever drug of your choice. We pushed those limits, and if it didn't kill us, it created some beautiful things because we did have a purpose for our drug use. I want to say that, right? Drug use. We had a purpose for it. It was to create, not escape. See, when you create, it's beautiful, but when you're escaping, then that's when you call drug abuse, because you're escaping from reality. You're not creating a reality. You're just escaping it, you know?
That's what's
So
up.
so I can tell you that I know thousands of producers in which we got high a lot, man. Like seriously, I'm telling you, it got to the point that I remember one time it was so funny, man. I was with a Buck, with Guy Rousseau, some other British guys, and we had a new batch of weed that showed up. But I already had been smoking so much that week, right? That I tasted and I'm going, dude, man, this ain't weed, man. He goes, what the fuck is this? I go, right. And I keep smoking and smoking. And this dude, and Guy, I remember Guy looked at me and said, you're not high, man? I said, nope. Go away. So, I pushed it to the point that it didn't get me high anymore. And that was a good thing because every time I would take it, I would be awake and focused the same what people become when they do coke or speed. We did that for me. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I was like, yeah, man. Yeah, man, I could focus now. I could focus. And then I would be like 36 hours nonstop. I think I even peed in my pants and I didn't even notice. But I was gone, man. I was deep into the vibe. I was deep into the grooves, actually seeing the music, no longer just hearing it, but seeing it, seeing colors all over. I would see things to the side of my eyes and I would turn around to see what the fuck was that. But it was the frequencies, the way that I was moving. I would see different colors. I started to see the music, man. That's how much we pushed it, not just me, because I actually talked about it with other people, and they said, dude, I see the same thing. They go, really? I go, yeah, man. And I thought I was crazy. They go, so I stopped doing weed and I stopped doing drugs and I didn't see them anymore. So I thought that's what it was until I started writing again and I started seeing them again. He goes, so I said, it wasn't the drugs then, man. It was the music that you were creating that was making that happen. So that's what happened to me, man. And when I stopped doing weed and all of that, and I started to produce again, I had done so much of everything for so long, that everything still, the feeling of being high is still in me. Like when I'm producing and I'm doing something that was innovative back then and still innovative now, I still get that feeling like I'm high. I get that goose pimples, I get all of that stuff, man. Like an ecstasy vibe, that when you're peaking, they touch you, it feels like, damn, wow, that was beautiful, man. Well, that's what a song does to me today without having to be high anymore, you know. But again, like I said, thousands and millions of producers back from the 90s, early 90s, especially, and late 80s, we got high like that. So the young people today could have a sound. You know what I'm saying? But now these producers are not creating new sounds. They're doing more dangerous drugs. Even the weed is dangerous right now, man, because of what they lace it with now that it's legal. They lace it just like tobacco, man.
Yeah, I
So you
had
could
some
come
of
back.
that shit, man. They gave it to me free at the dispensary. It made me choke.
Well, I'm still around people who smoke. I still am around a lot of people that are creative in that way, and I smell. All I have to do is smell it and know that it's not weed. I know that it's something else. There's got to be something else in there, man. I said, dude, why don't you have some rum with me? I got some Bacardi, man. I got some Captain Jack Spice Bomb, rum. You want some tequila? Go get some Patron, bro. Or why don't you drink some Sapporo's with me? I'll go get me some cans. The cans look dope too, the silver ones.
Yeah.
But all of that, man, that is what allows me to create. It accentuates the vibe so I could focus more. But I don't have to do drugs anymore, man, because I already did so much in my life that right now there's no need, you know. And it's not that I'm telling people not to do drugs. It's just that have a purpose for your drug. Create, don't escape. You know, if you escape, then it's a sin. It's a sin to be creative and escape. To be creative is to create. Do whatever drugs you want to do as long as it doesn't kill you. But create with that. Because if you create, when the creation is done, you could very well say no to drugs after that until you start creating again. But when you escape, you always want to go ahead and you need another hit, you need another hit, you need another hit, and you create nothing. Well, that's what I see a lot of people are doing now, man, is that they're escaping. They're not creating, man. They're not taking the time, to create that fat kick or that, nice kick. Doesn't have to be fat to be nice. It could just be groovy kick. Sexy kick, you know. The sexy kicks are the best, man. Because they're not pounding, but they allow the bass line to come out.
Hmm.
So now it's a combination of the kick and the bass. When you have a pounding kick, you could put a bass line on it and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
The music doesn't matter then. It's the drums. And that's great too. For the clubs, it's great, it's beautiful, but what's new about it then? I mean, at this moment, Todd Terry kind of more or less schooled all of us about drum programming, man, because his drums were always fat, always swinging, always had innovation in it, man. So anybody who does anything, they think they did something new, go back to Todd Terry, brother. You're gonna hear whatever you just did, you're gonna hear that he did it already, man. you know. So that's pretty much how that goes. Uh, the Todd Terry vibe with in a thinner sound of Todd Terry, they call it now tech house, bro.
Hmm.
They call them techie drums now. I'm going techie drums, man. That's just Todd Terry. I go, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's an infectious group that Todd did that is lasting up to now. But then what's going to happen for the other future generation, man? There's not going to be a sound for them, man. It's just going to be strange things. You know, uh, you know, uh, there's nothing for them. For the guys, For the producers that are doing things now, it's a fashion show. I gotta look good, but I don't have to sound good. I'm sorry, brother. And the underground, even back in the day, and even today, people in the underground, man, we're fugly, man. Fugly, brother. Fucking ugly, man. We're overweight. We got bags under our eyes, and some of us are even toothless. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for real.
But at the same time, put that motherfucker in front of anything, he's gonna rock it, brother. That's the underground. Underground is no fashion show. We don't give a fuck how you look, man. We just care what you're doing. I mean, damn, that group is fat, man. Hey, dude, that's great, man. We never ask how you do it in the underground. We're not really looking to find out what is it that you did to make it sound like that. We just appreciate what you've done because again, we don't want to copy what you've done.
Right.
We appreciate what you've done because it made us feel good. And that feeling is that we need to translate into our productions. When somebody does a good thing, man, and a great thing, or an awesome thing, or a above and beyond thing, it's not what they did that matters, it's how it made you feel, man. And that feeling for a creative person is the most important thing. Because if you create your own thing and you could emit the same feeling towards others, well, then that's the underground, bro. Underground songs last forever because of that. You know, you could again, you could play Hypnosis right now. This is 1991, man. Hypnosis, O2. You could play it right now, and people are gonna go nuts, man. They're gonna think it's a new song, you know. And you know, Hypnosis is pretty much not only that one, but Nervous Acid, by Bobby Condors,
Yeah.
in which Peter Dow did that bass line that everybody loves, man. Tun 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 tun. That was Peter Dow. Another producer, which him and his wife Vanessa Dow created some amazing songs back in the day, also. Um, but Peter Dow and Bobby Condos did Nervous Acid. Nervous Acid and Hypnosis are pretty much the soundtrack of my generation, bro, of my musical generation. Uh, it was the soundtrack of the underground, man. It didn't matter what where you went. You played those two songs, and any time in the night, it made everybody know that we were in the underground, man. Because those songs never really made it big in the commercial world, But they were they were the ones that solidified our generation, man. And nobody could really go ahead and debate that, man. They could go ahead and bring out other songs that they like, but not like Nervous Acid or Hypnosis by O2, man. You know, uh, everywhere I went, and I'm talking worldwide, brother. You drop those two songs, everybody went nuts, man. Immediately. It's like they knew, they knew something. I don't know what they knew, but they knew something.
And
And
still.
you could drop those two songs right now in any club, and they're gonna lose their mind, man.
Yeah.
I guarantee you. That's the power of the underground. My songs from Strictly Rhythm, not all of them touch people the same way, but it touched people that they still play them today. People send me their mixes, and I hear my tunes in them, and I'm going, damn, man, I never even thought about mixing my tunes like that. You did a great job, man. And then they tell me, man, I build my whole mix set based on that song. I say, wow, man, thank you. I go like that. Um, that's innovation, bro. And it's not just me. I mean, you could talk to Raw Soul, and he'll tell you about his songs. Excuse me, and his innovations.
So
You could talk.
Russell was one of your proteges, right?
Well, I don't want to say that he was a protege, but he did have the access to everything that I had. You know what I'm saying? Including my time. The sharing of space, the sharing of each other's presence. Uh, from just being friends to being DJs together to getting high together to creating together. I mean,
So you're really modest, but like Buck and Russell and so many other guys
well, there
were
was another guy too called Aquatherium. That was Brendan McCarthy. Aquatherium also went to England with us.
B.
Y-
McCarthy. Yeah, I seen his
Yeah,
name on records.
yeah, and then he was another amazing dude, but he came from a different direction. You see, that's what made it fun. Third floor, nobody competed with each other, man. At third floor, 1177 Polk, when we left, it became Molten Street Studios. You see,
Yeah.
that's when they 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 made it look really nice, bro. When I went to visit, I said, "Damn, this looked like offices, man." But when you came into third floor, it truly looked like a working fat environment. Tiles falling off the roof type of vibe.
Yeah.
You know, everything was like not looking like an office, including our office. So uh, I remember Jonas uh, uh, from he was the DJ for the
Mhm.
Shaman.
Yeah.
They he came with Richard, Jonas, and Richard.
Jonas Sharp and
Jonas,
his brother.
yeah, Jonas Sharp, yeah, Jonas
Mhm.
Sharp. They came into third floor, man. They said we're not going back with them, man. Why not? He said they said they came to third floor. Said we're not going back, man.
Oh
so
shit! Oh my
so so
god!
so I gave them a room with Richard, Jonah, and the girlfriend that they had at the time. I gave them a room, gave them some equipment. They started creating there, man. They stayed. I said, right on, bro. Stayed. I mean, that's the vibe that we had. We had a musical, creative community that was worldwide and eclectic. Nobody competing with anyone, man. It's like my room was my room, their room was their room. Now, if you needed inspiration, you just had to open your door and listen to what everybody else was doing in conjunction to what you're doing, and suddenly those other frequencies will cross pollinate and inspire somebody. You know, I
Yeah.
work I work also with Beavis and Butthead, man. You know, uh, that was a very trippy, very very trippy project because they hired me to do the remixes from the movie Beavis and Butthead come to America.
What the? What?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. David Geffen, man. They went ahead and they said, "Oh no, we want you to do it, man. It's your sound that we want." So I said, "Well, how much you gonna pay me? The X amount of dollars." I said, "Look, man, why don't you give me $10,000 more, and let's make it into a double pack, in which everyone in my crew could do a remix for you." Everybody, got whatever they had to pay. I wasn't really dealing with the money. There was other people that were, getting all the money to everyone. Um, but this was a double pack with everybody in third floor productions, brother. When it started out just being me, I went ahead and spread that wealth with all of them. And that particular project and those particular remixes that they did made superstars of a lot of those other um, uh, producers and remixers and DJs, bro. Because it was a novelty record that suddenly became a big underground thing, So that's how we did it. At third floor, a remix came for me. I shared it with everyone, man. I didn't keep all the money. Let's say I got my share, definitely. You know, Other people were distributing monies to other people, and I hope they got it. But I'm not going to get into that debate. All I know is that they came for me, and instead of me just saying no, man, it's just gonna be me, I'm going to share it with everyone. That created problems in different scenes in San Francisco at the time because everybody had their own cliques in San Francisco. Different parties, different producers, different DJs had their own little cliques, little clubs, and they only did things for them. But I didn't do that. I invited everyone, and they didn't like that. You know,
Huh.
so eventually I went like with the radio. I ended up in KMEL, and I ended up having Chuy Gomez be in KMEL too. It was so great, man. And at KMEL, I had my mix shows, and since it was after 12, I pushed the limits, man. I started playing Out Here Brothers, Fuck You in the Ass song. Wow, man. I said, we're going to get banned. We're going to get sued, right? But no, man, the law of the FCC says that after 12 o'clock, you can pretty much play whatever you want, man.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, that's what it was back then. So I start playing that song, and suddenly my board lights up. 25 lines all lit up. I said, "Oh no, man, they're going to arrest me." I went right, dude. It was mostly girls saying they love the song.
What?
We went there. you know, that's the power of the underground, man. Because out here brothers have never ever been commercial. Now they did do a commercial version of one of their songs, it boom boom boom. I want to get yeah oh yeah oh, whatever it was. I met those dudes in Amsterdam at a studio there. I was there with Yuri at his studio, and he went under the name Da Juice. He did a fat breakbeat song called "Hear the Angels," and we became friends there too, man. When I met him in well, I met him actually in New York, but when I ended up going to Amsterdam, I met him there, and he treated us really well, the whole crew. So that's where I met the Out Here Brothers, man. And we got so high too, man. So high that whatever they bought, they left behind. And Russell and me were with them, man. And said, dude, they're gonna leave us this much weed. Dude, look how much weed I got, man. We got too much weed. So, so we just left the weed in the studio, bro. Hey, whoever came, fuck it, they don't have it. But the Out Here Brothers, they did only one commercial song, man. If you hear their thing, they know how to sing beautifully. They know how to play. They're musicians beautifully. They're underground hip hop and house guys from Chicago, and they got that vibe. But what they talk about, well, that's their thing. It's X-rated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So but that's the underground. You could do that. And in the underground, to play an Out Here Brothers song is amazing, man. Well, I think that in Sweden, I'm not sure, either Sweden or Denmark, right? They actually use "Fuck You in the Ass," man, as a commercial with a family in a car, brother.
What?
And they're playing the song. Dun, 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 and then you can actually hear, "I'm gonna fuck you in the ass." Dun, 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 and then they're driving with a family and the kids moving their heads and everything. I'm going like, what? That's commercial success of the underground when it comes out in a commercial in Europe,
And they didn't have to change it.
brother. No, you should look for that, man.
Yeah.
Look for that in YouTube. Everyone, look for that in YouTube so you can know the power of the underground, man. You know, I mean, it gets to the point that people can't duplicate it, so they say, well, let's just use the original.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's hard to duplicate an underground song. Because you could ask the producer, and the producer is going to tell you, dude, seriously, I don't remember how I did it. No, and they're not lying. You might say, oh, you just don't want to tell me. No, I do want to tell you so I could remember myself. But I don't remember, man. And I'm not the only one who says that. Many of us say that, man, because we just went off and did it. We didn't have a system. We didn't have a purpose. So that's what this is all about. That's what DJ EFX is all about. It's about the underground. I mean, I had a chance to go commercial with many other acts, man. I was signed to Nasty Mix Records with a freestyle act in which I ended up doing house and freestyle mixed together. This is back in 1990, man. 89, 90, man. I was a signed artist with a group called Four Way in and for Nasty Mix, man. And they just had opened their dance department. So that's I ended up morphing things, and they came to me because of that thing. You know what I'm saying? That it was unique. It was something different.
Hmm.
And some of those songs are still being played today, man. You know, in freestyle parties, and because it has a house thing to them too. Uh, that's just how it is, man. I'm sorry that I'm going from different directions. I'm sorry that I'm talking so much. Uh,
Don't be sorry. I mean, I was just thinking, would there be any scratch pickles if you guys hadn't already been doing it? You know,
well,
like,
the thing about it is that the time travelers, scratch pickles, and all of that, they're unique, brother. Like Quest. I know Quest really well from Live Human and the Time Travelers. Uh, And I knew Cuber before he was even a DJ, bro. Cuber was a tagger with my brother, man.
Mm-hmm.
They both got arrested one day, man. When they were tagging, man. My brother was also a graffiti artist, and he's he comes from the underground too, man. And I met Cuber when before he started DJing. He actually started DJing because he got in a car accident and broke his leg, and he couldn't do anything for a whole year, man. So during that year is when he started developing whatever DJing scratching thing he was gonna do, man. And then he became who he is now, Cuber. And Cuber came definitely from the underground, man. And as big as Cuber is today, he should be even bigger than what he is now, but he's still underground. He's still promoting underground hip hop scenes.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
same thing with DJ Quest from Live Human and Time Travelers. Uh uh he created something really special with Live Human. Live bass player, live drummer, and him scratching doing melodies, man. But sick ass melodies from DJ from records, bro. And I'm going like, dude, you're in another space, man. And I know him really well, man. And I caught his act in many different cities. I caught their act of Paradiso in Amsterdam, man. I was living in Amsterdam when they showed up. They had just come from the Montreux Jazz Festival. That's how big these dudes were in the underground. They went to Montreux, man, at the Jazz Festival, you know, uh, doing experimental hip hop, man. That's from San Francisco, bro. From the Mission District, deep in the hood, man.
yeah.
A place you don't even want to leave your car out because you just know something's gonna be missing when you come out the next day. Or including the car. you know. So that's where Quest comes from, and that's where he created his sound. Hubert created his sound his way. Uh, my motion, my brother, same thing, man. He got his flow. I mean, right now he's doing the sound that he wants to do, and whatever he wants to do, people could go ahead and debate it or criticize it, but it doesn't matter. None of the critics that I know have been where we have been. None of the critics that I know have had the hunger, and I'm not talking the creative hunger, the physical hunger because there ain't nothing to eat. I mean, literally, there ain't nothing to eat,
Damn
but we
right.
got turntables. You know what I'm saying? There's no weed, but we got turntables.
Yep.
Hey, dude, I'm getting dehydrated. Fuck it, let's sweat a little bit to rehydrate. Let's go DJ for a minute. That's what my brother has done. That's what I have done. That's what many DJs, Arturo Garces, Jesse Martinez, and many, possibly including you, many, many of us in the underground have had that physical pain of hunger in which you have to make a decision. You either sell your turntable so you could eat, or you go ahead and just play and stay hungry.
Yep.
Because eventually adrenaline comes up from DJing, then you're not hungry anymore. You know,
Yep.
and then the frequencies that you sent out bring somebody to bring you a cookie or bring you some water
Yep.
or a beer, hopefully. You know, so that's what it is, man. But kids today don't know that. Producers now don't know what that means, and I don't blame them. It's because there is no underground or no underground sound for them to go to. All that they do have is sound packs and construction sets that you could buy at Traxsource, Beatport, Juno Download, and 150 other digital stores. And if you don't want to buy them, no problem. There's a whole bunch of bootleg sites in which you could download them for free. There's a whole bunch, man.
Man,
So
don't
people,
don't be lazy.
well, it's not about being lazy, man. If you want to go in the sample mode, do it. If you want to use construction sets, do it. You want to use sound packs, do it. But flip them. Create something new. Create something that even OGs, not just me, but other OGs could say, damn, I know where that came from, but listen to what he did. He flipped that, you know? And then that is what inspires other sounds. You know what I'm saying? From everyone. Don't get stuck in one thing, man. You know, making categories, bro. Divided house music, man. Really, I'm not lying to you. Before it was house music. It was techno, it was whatever. It didn't matter, bro. Any tempos, it was house music, man. The moment it went to England, they start separating them into categories. Then all of a sudden you got like a 10 categories, then 15 categories. Right now there's too many of them, man. you know, so people want to go into one category, you know? It's no longer just Latin house, but now it's Latin percussion house, and then it's
What?
Latin. Then now it's Latin electro, and oh no, hold on, Latin tech house. Oh no, no, hold on, Latin techno. Oh no, no, even worse, Latin trance. Oh no, Latin deep house, bro. And then all of a sudden you have Afro, and then Afro comes from Africa, beautiful. But then you got Afro with Latin and Afro European Afro. You got German Afro, and it's like, hold on a minute, man.
All that shit is the same thing.
But that's my point. Afro and then I go, well, you know what, man? All of that to me sounds like tribal. you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
And even tribal is still house music, man.
yeah.
You know, I was considered a tribal DJ, but then I started playing techno with tribal. Then suddenly I became a techno tribal DJ. And then suddenly I start putting acapellas from Rafi Rosario, you know, like you used to hold me on top of my techno and tribal, and with that acapella on top. Oh, now I'm a tribal techno house DJ. Just because in one set I put all those three together, man. And I'm going like, damn. I remember when Melody Maker and wrote a review about my playing, and that's what they were saying is that I didn't fit any category, so it was hard to review my performance. They said. I said, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Wow.
I couldn't get a review because of my, and that's what they wrote. That's exactly what they wrote. And I said, like, what? You can't review my performance because I don't fit in category, you know? And even today, there's a whole bunch of labels everywhere in which they have their own sound and they have a name for their sound, you know? Oh, this is what we do. This is chill house. Oh no, that's not chill house. That's ambient. Hold
Yeah,
on, what's the fucking difference? Chill and ambient is the same thing, man.
yeah.
But they have certain EQ settings. If you EQ a snare a certain way, it becomes a different category.
That's bullshit.
Well, that's my point. Do you see where I'm coming from, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I
So if I,
totally understand what you're saying.
so if my kicks are loud, then it's no longer house, it becomes something else. But if my kick is too low, then it becomes more chill. Well, hold on a minute. So where do you want me to put the fucking kick at? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because I'm going like,
yeah,
hold up a minute, man. At this moment, I'm going to put it wherever whatever makes the groove work. If my sound it doesn't sound like you want it, but don't put it out. Just
yeah.
say no, it's no good. Or it's overpowering, or it's not powering enough. It doesn't matter, bro. At this moment, it's about putting the music out. And it's not just about putting the music out, it's creating it. Believe it or not, brother, believe it or not, the moment that you create a song, you're in the creation process. Your body emits energies that go cosmically all over the universe, all over the world, and those who are connected to that vibe feel it, bro. They feel it. I had a phone call once from a friend from Colombia telling me, "Hey, dude, how you doing, man? Have you been writing lately?" I said, "I'm writing right now, man." And he said, "I kind of knew you were, man. I felt it." I said, "What?" "Yeah, man. That's why I'm calling you," he said. I said, "No shit." you know, I have friends in El Salvador and Mexico that tell me the same thing. I got my boys in Europe that say the same thing.
Straight
I
up.
have a friend of mine who lives in Toronto, man, that tells me the same thing, man. My homeboy in Dallas tells me the same thing. They send me messages to say, "What's up? You writing?" Say, "Yeah." "Oh yeah, I kind of knew it." They go, damn, bro, stop it. I go, you know, it's just that we feed each other without even talking to each other. If you're creating something, but really creating, not just assembling, you're no longer if you assemble, you're no longer a producer, because production means I swang this thing, I EQ'd this thing. You know what I'm saying? I struggled to find that sound. That's
Yeah.
a producer, that's a songwriter. An assembler just assembles those things, and then puts it together and says, check out my new track. Uh-huh. I got to tell you something about that construction and sound pack. I was DJing in San Francisco, man, at F8 on a Wednesday. Early, Dimitra was told me to come and play, right?
Yeah.
And it was before hospitality.
Hmm.
So I'm playing, right? And I play a couple of my songs, and this guy who was setting up sound comes up to me and says, "Man, that's some fat grooves, man. That's some fat songs. What sound pack did you use?" Oh my God, I went like that.
Oh.
Immediately, I already knew where the vibe was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Immediately, I knew that if you're asking me what sound pack or construction set I'm using, you already know that no matter what I tell you, you're not going to believe it. You know?
Yeah.
So that's my point. Just flip it to the point that it doesn't sound like a sound pack. Flip it to the point that it doesn't sound like a construction set. Flip it to the point that those elements are speaking your voice, because your voice is what matters. Your vibe is what matters, not how much you paid for it and now I need to make a profit. You know, it doesn't work like that, man. The profit does come, but it doesn't come right away. You know, it comes in many different ways. I could be, I was away I was away for more than 11 years, man. And I come back and look what happened immediately. Everybody's saying, no, man, you need to start creating again. You need to start creating again. That's profit, brother. That's profit from being real during my peak time, in which I did help a lot of people, but not help them in the way that I was instrumental from my end, but the way that they took it was like, oh man, thanks, man. Uh, Now you inspire me, and then they become bigger than I ever was, man. Do you know how happy that makes me feel, man? It makes me feel that maybe just a few words that you say to somebody, it creates some amazing things, And that's not just me saying it to them, but I have had other people come over and say the same to me. Giorgio Moroder, man, I met the dude. I went to his studio in Beverly Hills, man. I used to live in Melrose. He asked me to come to his studio to do a remix, and he left me alone overnight. He comes back, listens to the vibe that I got, and he told me, Raul, I gotta say something to you. He goes in German, kind of with a German accent, right? And he goes to me, "You're too advanced." He went. I said, "Damn, Giorgio Moroder's telling me that I'm too advanced." And then he told me something else. Don't go beyond what people could understand. Always be innovative, but keep it within those boundaries so people could always understand you. You know, I didn't listen to him. I just kept going with my own vibe. But then years later, I understood what he said. And those little things that he said to me kind of like changed a lot of my vibe. And that's how I write today. I mean, I got some really sick vibes that I want to come out with. You know what I'm saying? Sick vibes, rhythms, and all of that. I sent a remix. I did a hip hop remix. I sent to my brother. So he could go ahead and say, "Tell me what you think." Because I thought it was innovative, right?
Yeah.
And he told me the same thing. Man, these are some fat drums, man. This is some fat vibe you got going on, but I can't play it. See, I said, why not? They're not gonna dance to it, man. This is too advanced. He went, damn, man. you know. So I still produce hip hop, man. I produce everything, man. A lot of people know me from house, tribal, and hip hop, but I also done some rock projects, man. I've done some metal projects. I've done some blues projects, man, with real musicians also, man. I done ballads, man. I actually was involved in soundtracks as well, man, creating soundscapes. I've done all of that, man. It's just what I feel, and people love what I do. only because it comes from me. I'm not copying anybody, you know? And that's what I want to tell everyone, that if it doesn't show you a material profit right away, don't worry about it. It will show up later. But you have to not sacrifice your emotion and your feeling. You know, this is not a job, man. This is this is this is a culture, you know? This is us. And us meaning me, myself, and I. I'm schizophrenic, mind you. Me, myself, and I, you know? Because I have debates inside of me all the time, you know? And everyone has schizophrenia of the same way. Me, myself, and I. Me, myself, and I. Now, parts of me vibe with some others, and other parts of me vibe with others, but they never vibe completely with everyone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's my point. So instead of trying to convince all three elements inside of me, or three different identities inside of me, to like one thing, I just go with whatever they want to do at the time, man. You know, there's been a couple of times in which all three agreed and then came out with some amazing things. You know,
Hmm.
this Amazonia song that I did for Wolf Screen Records, man, that was one of them, man. Brazilian vibe with acid house, with deep house, but the drums not pounding hard, but percussion driven, and the bass line was actually, I played the bass line live myself, but when they heard it, they were telling me that they were hearing an owl. I made the bass line sound like an owl, they said. And I said, what owl, man? I wasn't even thinking of an owl. But the owl and a bird, a exotic bird in a tribal environment. That to them, they said, man, that's beautiful. They said, whatever. The pads were all like beautiful house, deep house pads, but the acid came on top and it made it sound different. And then the percussion going crazy, and the bass line sounding like an owl, which I don't know where the hell that came from. And then I played little guitar licks because I'm not a great musician, but I know how to play enough for my songs. Don't ask me to play anybody else's songs because I ain't gonna play them, but I'm gonna play the ones that I wrote, including with my piano playing. Don't ask me to play that song, but ask me to play my song. I play it, because I don't read music. I've never been trained. I just started playing, and that comes from really going deep into your creation process, you know, and that's what I want people to understand. And that's DJ EFX, man.
Thank you, Raul. This is a better interview than I ever could have dreamed of. Way better than me asking questions too. This is way better. Thank you, man. This is very inspiring, and there's some very important messages throughout this thing. And um, man, thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you, man. Thank you for allowing me to go ahead and allow me to say what I have to say. I don't do many interviews, man. As a matter of fact, this is the first one I've done in long time. I've been asked to do interviews, but I actually didn't want to. I already kind of knew what the questions would be. And I I I don't want to knock anybody down. I don't want to talk shit about no one. I actually just want to go ahead and inspire people. You know,
Yeah,
I never said that I'm the best, but I could hang with the best. That's it. That doesn't make me be the best, but at least I could hang with them. If one day I become the best, it's only going to be for a brief moment because there's going to be another dude who's going to come on, or another dudette who's going to come on that is going to blow us all away. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
That's the key. One rises, all of us rise. One rises a little bit more, all of us rise a little bit more. You see what I'm saying, brother?
yeah,
It's not about one person dominating. It's about us dominating. All of us, man. And we need more of the underground flavor in every music, not just house music. We need more underground hip hop music. We need more underground metal music. We need more underground country music. Underground country music, brother. That exists, mind you. It blew me away, man. I was in Biloxi, Mississippi, and I heard it. I said, "Ooh, I love this, man. Why isn't this out?" Nobody likes it. They said, "Dude, that's stupid." I went. You know what I'm saying? So I've heard a lot of innovation that is waiting to come out. So that's what I ask all of you. If you're listening, stay true to your sound. Don't copy nobody. If you use samples, flip them. If you use construction sets, flip them. If you use sound packs, flip them. Create something new with that. You know, just create something new. Don't go for the fashion. Don't go for the fame. Fame only lasts 6 weeks. Trust me. After that, you're not famous no more. So and the money pretty much could be gone in one day. So just let it come from you, man, and then you will live forever only because the underground lives forever. That's it. So thank you very much, Dimitri, man. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for the chance to letting me speak my mind. I hope that I haven't insulted anyone because that wasn't my intention. My intention is to tell the facts for what they are, and pretty much make sure that everybody's united towards creation, not to escape. Let's create something, you know. So thank you very much for that, Dimitri.
Thank you.
And my success to you and your wife, man. You guys are doing something right, also.
Thank you, bro. Man. All right, I'm gonna turn it off right now.